All right, so let's install the flex fuel sensor now. I got the whole kit from Ha Motorsports. They sold basically a plug and play harness with the resistor already built into it. They sold the OEM GM Continental flex fuel sensor, and all I had to do is make a little bracket. So this harness came in it, and so did the sensor. It's a GM OEM part, which was kind of cool. That's not some knockoff. Here's the harness that came with it. We'll get to that. And then I also bought 2 of these clamps, this little AN hex style nuts, clamps, whatever you want to say, just to kind of go on my Dash 6 just like that. And then I found this on Amazon, just a simple little bracket that the sensor nicely bolts onto with a little cage over it. And all I did was, there's not much worth showing you guys, but I just made this little tiny piece of aluminum here, put a riv nut in it. And essentially, the game plan is, I debated on where to put this thing. There's all kinds of options. I debated over here, wherever, right? I tried to make it so I would run as little bit of line and as little bit of kinks and whatnot in it. So we have this hole here, OEM. We have a little stud down here. I left this a little loose in here so we can move it around, but you'll get the idea. That'll slide over there. I'll put a nut on it, and then this will attach up there, and I'll have a little spacer in there. And the flex fuel sensor, I can kind of move it around a little bit like that, but pretty simple. I've already got this JB tuned kit. So there's one right there, and this line goes to the return on the fuel pressure regulator. I'm gonna try and just take that line itself and route it over here, and then just make one new line that connects the fuel pressure regulator. So that said, let's mock this up and let's cut some lines. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kinda tighten this a little bit. I'll probably pull all these out and put Loctite on them afterwards. This just nicely lays in there. Came with this little bracket. This little thing was like 20 bucks off Amazon. The flex fuel sensor and the harness was like 130. So, I mean, that's like roughly, let's just say give or take 150 bucks. It's not too bad. All right. I don't have a spacer at the moment, but this will get us pretty close to what we want here. So let's go mount this on the car. All right, so there it is. It's not fully installed, but again, this I'll put a spacer on it, and if I can shrink the spacer so I can kind of just push it further back if I want to, or pull it. It's got a little bit of room, and I can just cut the bolt and, you know, shorten the length, because right now it's maxed out. Down there, I don't have a nut or anything on it yet, but that should hold it. I'm just gonna kind of have it like this for now. Oh, we got it. All right, nice. All right, well, so looks like I can probably just go right over the actual booster here, just like this. Took that back, and I can probably get right in there. So let's get a little bit of some length here. These guys, fantastic. You can see I've got a little bit of some excess. I still got to push. Maybe the line was a little too short, actually. All right, so that line's kind of there. We've got some wiggle room if need be, so I'll probably figure out how to tighten that or when I go to. Right now I've got a line that should be ample big. Put a connector on one side. I'm just going to feed this under the intake manifold. All right, so I've got the line up here now. Let's see if this was long enough. All right, so it's fastened on there. Definitely need a spacer here, but it's pretty rigid with these lines just here anyways. But again, I'll space it, put a washer, nut, everything down there. You can see what it looks like, little hook coming up, down, around. But let's prime the system and let's see if there's any leaks. Fingers crossed. All right, well, I mean, that's good. Let's see if, let's go ahead and let's just start it. Again, there's no, like, I don't have anything wired in to actually view the ethanol content yet. We'll get there. Just wanna make sure there's no leaks first. He's idling. Don't feel anything coming out of there. Nothing is coming from there. I didn't even disconnect that, so we should be good. All right, awesome. So now we'll move on to actually putting the wiring so we can see what the ethanol content is. There's only 91 octane in the pump now, but let's get that running first and then we'll go from there. We got it installed, there's no leaking. These are just some plastic spacers just to kind of, it's pretty rigid. I don't even have a nut down there, but again, there's the lines, kind of comes up around there and we are good. So now I just want to show you this. I'm open to all ideas. I've spitballed a bunch, looking all over Amazon, the internet, wherever, but here's the wire. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. Look at this. Look at this shit show. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, there is some chaotic organization of this. There's the fuse box, and I've got a ton of wire taps going in there to like fulfill certain gauges and just stuff like that. I'm open to any idea on how to clean this up. I will post some probably pictures in this. I did find some different, you know, fuse boxes that I could use, but I'm at the point where like, I just want to get rid of everything if I can. Like get rid of this box, get rid of the one underneath there, and just go to the bare essentials of what I need. I'm just not there yet. The ECU is on like a little plate that's hanging up there where the wideband hangs on it. I already took the coil and plug that goes on there. So I'm gonna pull that down and we'll get to the wiring of the flex fuel, but just look at this. It's craziness. Granted, you never see it because it's up behind the dash, but damn. And this is just the distribution block. I guess you could say that comes from the battery in the trunk, and then it goes into the fuse box and so forth. Fuse box, starter, yada yada. But all right, let me take down that and we'll go to that. All right, I'll show you in a second. But for the moment now, I decided to add a connector to it. Top two are for the flex fuel sensor. The bottom is for the dash. So you can see I cut all the extra wires there. There's how it is. Now the downfall of this is I'm using a 3-pin connector and I'll be able to just disconnect essentially right from here and I could pull the ECU out. If I want to disconnect the actual flex fuel sensor, I'll be able to disconnect it and route the wire in here, as opposed to the dash also has one wire too. So best bet would probably be like a 2-wire and a 1-wire, and I could disconnect them individually, take the ECU out and take the 2 components out individually. But for now we're gonna do this, and as you've seen the wire, I'm gonna eventually get to it, and this is just where we're gonna go from now. Oh, hey, yeah, look at this shit show too. So I'm gonna be removing the water meth kit, and I know I've got its power down here somewhere. Let's just cut all this, and we will address this again a little bit later. I need to cut all this to find, like to drop all of it so I can find what I'm looking for here. And as you can see, I got flags on everything again, which is gonna help me for sure. All right, for this end of the connector, now I'm doing the inside of the car. I'm gonna grab one of the bullet ones, one of the males. And I like to grab the crimper. Let me also specify, I'm not any wiring expert here, but I like to stick it in there first and sort of kind of get it started. It's hard while I'm looking at the camera. And it'll kind of hold it, lock it, easy. This is pretty straightforward. Enough wire stripped. There it is in there. Squeeze and it crimps. And there we go. Nice pull and it's taut. So to make this plug match, I'm just gonna grab my red connector here. Push it into here, click. I can push it in. There you go. Black. Once all 3 are in, just push this little gasket in there. And I will end up pulling these out again to actually loom this portion of it. You got this little green piece. The arrow on it, whether you can see it or not, is supposed to go towards the connection piece. I honestly don't think it matters, but it might. There you go. So it's in for now. I'm going to just add a connector. The connector is temp plugged in back there. Dash is reading, cool. Just plug the Honda in. I added some sensors, so it looks like the fuel temperature, I guess, is 73 degrees. Ethanol content is 10. So in your Honda map, it's very easy. Just pull up your parameters. You'll find flex fuel over here, and then just simply turn it on with the AN0. I left everything alone the way it is because I know my ethanol content is not going to be above this. So everything is just at 0, and we'll leave that for the actual tuning session, but then re-upload it. And as we can see right now, my sensor is reading. Ethanol percentage is 10. Fuel temperature is 72 degrees. So we will go from there. Ordering from the wiring and whatnot. I just disconnected the return line, added another hose, drug it into a gas tank. We're going to drain most of this. I'm going to check for some leaks here. Let's simply just start the ignition here. I will run the fuel pump from the Honda here in a second. Let's just make sure we don't have any leaks. I don't see any, and really hard to tell, but it smells like gas. There's a little bit in there. So now that the car is on, should be able to, we're just going to connect ethanol content 10%. If I go to, it's been a minute here, online, test outputs, fuel pump output, drain fuel tank. Not leaking, cool. And I hear it. Let's see if I can get you guys a light visual. All right. Whoop. Okay, cool. Now my display is it's pretty accurate. It says 85% fuel level, 84. So we're just gonna let this run for a minute or two. I'm gonna fill this 5-gallon jug up. Then I'll probably stop, let the pump chill just so it doesn't overheat at all. I'll put this into the S2000, then I'll drain some more and we'll go from there before I start putting E in it. All right, so again, my equation for the dash is not perfect, but it's set about 15 to 18% fuel level. It might be a little bit lower, a little bit higher again. That's a whole different thing, but the fuel pump got a lot louder when it got down there, so I'm assuming it's pretty low. So I went to the gas station, got 6 gallons of E85, and now I plug up the return system again. Let's make sure it is not leaking. Doesn't appear to be. Cool. Out of curiosity, it's not the most accurate, but now it says 103. That's crazy. Don't think that's accurate, but let's let the pump. Ethanol percent says 1. Let's just do this again. We're gonna try to start it here. Neutral. Fire it right up. Okay, ethanol content is at 50% and it's going. Cool. Now what I did was, let's minimize that. Let's open up the parameters. So when I opened up my data log, whoops, it's going real lean. Let's probably get some of the 85 in there now. Ethanol content's at 53. Now all I did was ethanol content. I left it alone where it is, so fuel compensation for both closed and open loop. If it's there, it's at 35%. It's definitely running a bit lean. Ethanol's at 53%. Let's just out of curiosity give it a couple little revs here. sounds fine. Let's see if that opens it up a little bit. Air to fuel got a little bit better there. It's probably leveling itself out a bit. Cool. Oh, and then when it starts to idle again, it gets a little bit lean, but I mean, I'm sure we can tweak that later on. So I think for now, what I'll end up doing is, I'm gonna see if I can drive this to the fuel station probably tomorrow and top it the rest off in the 85 and see if the ethanol percentage goes up a little bit. I'll obviously use some fuel and see how it just drives, make sure I can drive this to the dyno. All right, so the car drives pretty well, honestly, with the stuff I tweaked for the ethanol. We're on the way to the dyno now. Let's just see what this car ends up putting down power-wise. I'm not really going for a max goal. I just want to see if it picks anything up across the whole power band, and then obviously at later track dates we'll be able to tell if, I don't know, IAT stay a little cooler running E85 versus, you know, regular 91 octane. Say what? Okay. I wasn't that far off, honestly, then. Bigger? All right, so overall, I'd say the dyno day was pretty good. Just for quick numbers, last time, so this was roughly a little over 3 years ago, and the wastegate, mind you, was open. So this, I think, restricted me a little bit. The wastegate's tied into the downpipe this time, but I kind of like it just for hearing engine sounds and blow valve, yada yada. But overall, last time at 14 pounds of boost, we made, it was like 362. So let's say 362 at 14 pounds. This time at 12 pounds, we made like 384. Quite a bit of difference there. It's like 25 wheel, we'll just round it to that. 25 wheel with 2 pounds of less boost. So is that good for E85? I don't know, you guys tell me. I'm not sweating it. Essentially, I can run less boost and make more power. So that's a win for me. And then you can see from the video, I tried to sync the aim data as good as I could with the video. We tried to run as much boost as we did last time to see what it would make, but it didn't make as much horsepower as we thought. And my biggest guess would just be it's just running out of steam. The turbo is, if people run the turbo higher boost levels than I am, maybe it's a little bit of the 5,500 feet altitude that we're at, and the boost controller is just running out because the gate spring is like 5.5 pounds. And I am on a 3-port, so maybe the boost controller is just not able to keep up with it that high, and or the tying in with the wastegate into the dump tube, or the dump tube into the downpipe. Can't even talk. Overall, the car drives great. Pretty stoked about that. Is what it is. So it's funny to see that I've been tracking the car at like 260 wheel, and I've consistently gotten faster if you followed me. I still have yet to hit my PB, but my PB is kind of like a hero lap. I have not hit that again. In fact, I haven't got really that close to it. I'm consistently hitting a 133 at least each session that I'm going out now. I haven't uploaded the first event video yet. That'll probably be after this. But I'm gonna do some data analysis with another buddy, yada yada. But it's interesting to see. So I'm curious, oh, and this time too, we also, instead of just giving it like a duty cycle and letting it just go, we did ramp it more progressively, which you can kind of probably see that in the video, the data that I displayed. Just to maybe help the car be a little more transitional on the track, since the turbo is very responsive, which is why I stopped tracking it at higher boost levels. because the car would just, I mean, it's an animal, it's a handful. So we're gonna see if that works out. And if it is too much, it's 384, which is like an extra 100 horsepower than what I usually track it at. I'll just grab that, I'll just grab the scaling for the duty percentage and I'll just bring it down in the same linear fashion just to kind of help the boost ramp in and maybe make it easier to drive on the track. Other than that, pretty stoked. Flex fuel sensor worked out great. What I did not show you guys, I'm not gonna get into it really that much right now, but long story short, after I took out the meth kit, which is not in any of this video really, but when I took out the meth kit, the car would be on for about 30 seconds. The aim dash would give me a hot temperature and it would shut off. Gauges were shutting off. I don't know what the hell was going on. Probably part of this wiring mess. And maybe the water meth gauge or setup was actually adding a ground or something that was helping this whole car and I didn't even realize it. And I say that because I did not finalize what I want to ultimately do, but I'll just kind of show you. It's better than nothing for right now. It's still a disaster, but let's see if I can get it. Not much light here, but sorry, bear with me here. And the light just turned off. There is one of those Amazon fuse boxes, if this light will stay on. One of these Amazon fuse boxes. It is what it is. One of these Amazon fuse boxes, and I basically took all the wire taps out and I ran all of my gauges to it. I ran everything to it. So it's really easy just to kind of diagnose like what's having an issue, what's not. And after I did that, the temperature of the logger or the aim dash is back to where it used to be. Everything works great. In fact, my oil pressure shows a little higher, so it makes me wonder how good that connection was. And I took stuff out of the dash and I sort of just added stuff to a front panel here for the time being. Eventually this dash is gonna come out of the car. I'm gonna rip all the OEM wiring out. But car survived. Gap of the plugs. We did everything there at 30. We gapped it down to 25 just to be a little safe sometimes. I don't really have any spark blowout, but I don't really track the car at that much boost. So just in case I did, we just gapped it to 25. So those pulls at the end are at 25. For anybody that's curious, ethanol content was like 62% when we started. That was the most I could find right now. It was like 10 gallons of E and then 2 gallons of 91. And then it was a mixture, I'm trying to give you some more stats. Timing wise, I think if it's 30% ethanol, it's like 1 degree of timing. If it's 50%, it's 4 degrees. If it's 60%, it's 6 degrees and so forth. But that's it for now. Appreciate everybody for watching. Next video will be a track video. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave it down below. Excited to show you the next track video. I did okay, got better. I finally got a sub sticker, but still need to keep improving at that. So until next time, appreciate everybody.